This video is made possible by donations to the United States Lighthouse Society from people like you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ralph Krugler. I'm with the United States Lighthouse Society, and joining me today is Kurt Lentsch with the Friends of Chicago Lighthouse. And to me, this is very personal because this was the first lighthouse that I ever got to visit. So I'm very excited to see that there's a group out there who's getting this thing going. And a lot of people don't know about this yet outside of the city of Chicago. So just want to invite Kurt on here to talk a little bit about this. And first of all, happy Memorial Day, Kurt.
Yes, well, happy Memorial Day, and thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation with you about the Chicago Harbor Lighthouse, and we appreciate the time you're taking to interview us today on Memorial Day, a beautiful day in Chicago for sure.
Okay, so for people who aren't on your mailing list who don't really know the backstory yet, how did you get this whole thing going? How did you get the city to hand over the keys to the lighthouse?
Well, right now we haven't gotten the keys yet, but right now we just let me give you a little background about myself, and you can go on savethelighthouse.org to learn all the details. But we are boaters. My wife and I have been boating in Chicago for over 20 years on Lake Michigan, and we've come past this lighthouse a couple hundred times, I can imagine. And throughout the years, we've seen this lighthouse just deteriorate into its current condition. In January of 2022, I did a little research to write a blog post for a Facebook group I have called Chicago Boaters. And in that research, I discovered that the city of Chicago took ownership of the lighthouse through the National Lighthouse Preservation Act, which as a boater, I had no idea even existed. I'm not a preservationist, I'm a boater, but I do love the Chicago Harbor Lighthouse. During the research, I discovered that the city took ownership of the lighthouse in 2008, 2009. There were some commercial opportunities they thought they could get attracted to the lighthouse, and there was even a development that shows a hotel being built with the lighthouse being incorporated into it on the breakwall, which would be horrifying if that were to happen. So through my research, I was in contact with the National Park Service, who told me that in 2020, they had reached out to the city asking them to give them the lighthouse back because the lighthouse was continuing to deteriorate. No preservation was being done with it. And if the city was not going to preserve it, national parks were going to go through the program again to be able to find a new ownership. And if a suitable owner was not found, they would go out to auction. So that thought of this lighthouse, which is such an iconic structure to the lakefront of the city of Chicago, to have that fall into private ownership was very concerning to me. So I thought someone needed to do something about it. And I kept looking around and saying, okay, who's going to do something about this? And I said, it's got to be us. So I got a group of our boater friends together. We formed Friends of Chicago Harbor Lighthouse in March of 2022. We've gone through the process of incorporating and filing for our 501c3. We anticipated through our council it would take about 11 months to get our 501c3 application approved. It took about 2 months to get approved, which I think just proves to us what we're trying to do is a worthy cause.
So in the process of doing all this, and I know you've been out to the lighthouse and your partners have been out there a few times, have there been any surprises, whether it's structural on the tower itself or in the entire process of getting this thing going, that have come up that you really didn't think about in advance?
Well, I knew the process of to restore the lighthouse is going to be a very long process and very complicated. A lot of different stakeholders involved, all of them government agencies, and the complications involved in working through their intricacies. So those kind of processes weren't surprising. We know it's a difficult process. The physical structure for me, I was surprised how solid it really is. These cast iron structures are just 100 years old, and 100. It's amazing how well they are structurally. I'm not an engineer, I'm not an architect, but I think we're all surprised that it is in really solid condition. But it does need a lot of TLC because if it continues to go down this path, we're going to lose that lighthouse.
So when you hopefully get ownership of it, What are your plans? Like, is there a proposed timeline? Is there short-term goals? Are there long-term goals? Are there people will be able to visit before the thing's officially done to start raising money? What are your plans?
So initially, our goal is awareness. I mean, it's incredible. You know, one of the things I also was very incredibly surprised about in this process, um, in not having to do with the lighthouse, the structure at all. It's just how many people love the lighthouse, and in the same sense, how many people have no idea we have a lighthouse in Chicago. So our biggest goal right now is our strategy is awareness that there's a lighthouse, and what needs to be done to it, and the ownership process of it. And then we are looking to gain control and the rights to from the city of Chicago so that the Friends take ownership of the lighthouse. And then we can then start the process of developing a strategic plan to gain access to the structure, to allow public access in its current condition. Once it's safe to do so, we understand we have to go through and remediate asbestos and lead-based paint in these old buildings to make it safe. But we want to put a proper dock in and be able to allow public access, to give tours, to show everyone the condition of the current condition is and what we think can be done to this lighthouse to make it the icon that it is for the city of Chicago.
So will it be just daily tours, or are there going to be events that are held there? What are you thinking?
So immediately, if we can get access to it and build a dock and make it safe for access, it would be we would do events to give tours of the lighthouse, to generate interest for fundraising to start out with, and then we would the goal would be in three phases. Once we have the rights, then we will then start to raise the funds to restore it. And I think people need to get out there to see it. There's no other view in the city like that lighthouse, from that lighthouse. If you've been out there, you know, and very few people have been out there, and that's unfortunate. The goal is this is an historic lighthouse. It's in an incredibly the world class city. I think the greatest city in the world, and we want to get people out there and share this lighthouse with them and share the maritime history and the effect that this lighthouse has had on developing the city of Chicago and the maritime history of Chicago.
So how are you planning on getting people out to the lighthouse? I know you said you're all boaters. Are you planning on using private boats? Do you have a company that you're going to work with to get people out there safely? What's your plan for that?
Right. The plan would be no recreational boaters on the lighthouse. It would be commercial boat only, and we would contract either with existing commercial operators in Chicago, or we would develop a program ourselves. Two of us are licensed captains, and we have relationships with all the commercial operators in Chicago. So we can, the whole goal would be to make it as easy as possible, just like you could get to Navy Pier from Queens Landing. It would just be like going to Queens Landing and getting to the lighthouse. So we want to make it as convenient as possible. And there are several companies who are doing that already. And so we'd like to partnership with those folks.
How can people help with either volunteer, sending financial donations, or just become part of your group?
Yeah, go to savethelighthouse.org. That is our website, and register to help. Register for our newsletter. We're doing our monthly newsletter. We started in April. Catch up on the newsletters from April, May, and we'll have June coming out soon. And if you're so inclined to donate, we're taking donations for administrative costs now. All of us are volunteers. None of us are making any money on this. None of us expect to make any money. We all have full-time jobs and are doing well ourselves. So this is a love of the lighthouse that we're passionate about it. And we're trying to raise the funds to restore it and make this an icon for the city of Chicago, and allow public access that brings children who rarely get access to the lakefront, who rarely get on a boat, and some maybe for the first time ever in their lives, from underserved communities, underserved neighborhoods in the city of Chicago, through the city, through Chicago, partnering through Chicago Public Schools or other community-based organizations, Chicago Public Libraries, that will allow us to bring kids down to teach them about the lakefront, boating, the waterfront, and maritime history, and what that lighthouse has meant to the city of Chicago. So that is our ultimate goal. And we have dedicated people. We've had over 200 people in this short period of time since we've launched that have signed up for our newsletter and supporting our organization. And it's incredible to see the amount of support from the lighthouse community, and also the historical community and the preservation community. And all of us are working together together to make this happen. So I think we're going to get it done. I know we're going to get it done. It's going to take a little bit of time because it's a lot of work and it's a complicated process. But I know everyone involved from the city and from all the departments that are supporting this organization and supporting the lighthouse, everyone wants to see this happen. So I think we got a good group of people and the city behind us, and I'm looking forward to making it happen. And ribbon cutting to be coming in the next 2 to 5 years, we think. And it's just, I think it will be a great asset for the lakefront of Chicago.
Absolutely. So August 7th is coming up. It's National Lighthouse Day, even though it's not nationally recognized officially as a holiday. Do you have any plans for that coming up, just to get the awareness out there?
That's the ironic thing. And I think I mentioned this to you, Ralph, last week. Been a boater in Chicago for 25 years, and National Lighthouse Day, no one's ever heard of it in Chicago, because we've done a terrible job. And we've had we have, I think, the best, not to offend anybody, I think we have the best lighthouse in the world here at our doorstep. And we are going to do something for August 7th. We're talking with our communications team to put something together, but we're talking to the city of Chicago to start to recognize that August 7th date, because I think it's important that people understand we have a lighthouse in the city of Chicago. It's a half a mile off of Navy Pier, a mile off of shore, and we're going to get you out there to see it. So we're looking forward to that day.
I appreciate all you're doing. Like you said, getting the kids out there. I was there. I was lucky enough to get out there in the 1970s and actually get inside there with the group, and it blew me away. And it started this love for me. So if you can get more kids in there, that'd be fantastic. So before we wrap this up, I just wanted to ask you: is there anything else you'd like to add to this?
I'm just incredibly impressed with the amount of support we're getting from the Lighthouse fans across the country. I mean, people have reached out to us with photos, with stories, and we love that kind of stuff. We're trying to document all that. Our goal is to document all those stories, and so that we can, when we're ready to open, we can put those stories out there, and everyone knows the accurate history behind the Chicago Harbor Lighthouse. So if you have anything, take a look at our website. You can contact us at info@savethelighthouse.org, and if you want to volunteer, feel free to sign up. Register to help. If you just want a newsletter, register to help, and you can register. You can make a donation right on our page to our GoFundMe page. So we appreciate all the support from the Lighthouse community for the Chicago Harbor Lighthouse. Thank you.
Awesome, Kurt. Thank you very much for spending this time this morning.
Thank you, Ralph. Appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
All right, you too. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.